Hi guys, and welcome to our family kitchen in Colorado. Today we're going to be making choke cherry jelly. Now there's a difference between jam and jelly, and that's why I hesitate a little bit. I want to make sure I'm using the right word. Jelly is where you have the juice turned into a thing that you serve and spread on your toast. Jam is when you have the meat of the fruit that's coming in the jelly or the jam itself. So you see some parts of the fruit in the thing. So today we're going to make jelly. It's choke cherry jelly. And I've already started the process. Now these are choke cherries that we harvested 2 years ago when we put in our freezer. And this is just proof that when you find a good harvest, it is okay to put everything in a freezer bag, get all the air out of it and freeze it and bring it back out when you're ready to process. And today we're ready to process. So we actually have 2 pots full. And I will say that my dad was recently here with my mom, and he taste tested them and said that they were really, really good. And the nice part about keeping them in the freezer for a long while is the acidity of them goes down and they become more sweet. So now we're going to have a better flavored jelly because we let them rest for a period of time in the freezer. So what we have done is we've washed the choke cherries. They are now in the pots. I've added about 4 cups of water to them. And the goal here is that we're going to get them to a nice low simmer. And we are going to let the berries cook so that the meat around the seed and the juice all kind of just releases. And what's going to be fun about that is then we have to figure out a way to separate them. And we're going to be using all sorts of old-fashioned techniques to do that. Part of what's going to be really cool is I have Madeline and Mercedes with us today, but I also have my sister-in-law, Amber, gets to be with us. She'll be arriving here soon. And I'm getting a little of a head start here because this isn't a short process. If you're getting into canning, which is something I do for therapy, and I don't do it often enough, but when you get into canning, it is a process that's going to take you between 6 and 10 hours, depending on the volume you're doing, as well as what you're doing. And so yesterday, I actually went through and I sanitized all of my jars that I'll be using today. And what I did with that, because I have a large jar collection in my canning cupboard, I went through and boiled the jars in a vinegar water substance in my water bath cans. So these are water bath cans here. And kind of a mess right now, but that's okay. So these are water bath pots. And inside is a rack we'll be using. We'll be using this again today. But we use the vinegar water solution to boil and sanitize all of the jars and the insides of these pots because we want to make sure that the items or the jelly that we're making today is willing to last as long as possible without any kind of germs or anything like that. So once the jars were processed and cleaned, we made sure that they were good to go, and we put them on the clean racks inside the oven. The oven itself doesn't have to be perfect, but the racks do. And now I'm going to slowly start raising the temperatures on these jars. Right now they're cold, so I can touch them with my hand. But later they will be hot, and I'll need a pot holder to grab them. And the reason you want your jars hot is you don't want to put a hot liquid into a cold jar because glass can have a negative reaction to that and explode. And the goal is to keep as much of the stuff that you're working so hard as possible. So I have little tiny cute jars. These are for maybe neighbors and things like that who don't need a lot. And then I have the larger jelly jars like these, and lots of vinegar available. I have vinegar by the gallon. Don't have it out right this minute. Here it is. But I have several gallons of this. You use it to clean the edges of the jars after you fill them to make sure that the sanitary environment continues before you put the lid on and cook it. So anyway, we're going to do all this process today. We're doing a water bath process. So you'll be doing a process where we'll be putting the filled jars with the lids and the rings on inside the water bath and cooking them for a period of time, which will allow the gasket on the lid to melt and seal the jars, and it becomes watertight and airtight so that it will no longer have any risk of getting bad or contamination. But we're going to do that today. It's my favorite way to do processing. You'll find if you visit and I find a really good deal on strawberries, or if our rhubarb garden is doing really well, I might make like a small batch of like 3 or 4 jars and do a small water bath. So I'm always keeping jars around me when I'm around fresh fruits and things like that. Some other things that I like to do is dehydrate and all that. But today we're doing canning, and I'm really excited for you to join along with us and in this process. So here we go.
And grab your balls. It's canning.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Appropriate shirt for the day. Appropriate shirt for the day. Grab your balls. It's candy season. Now, okay. And I use mostly Ball brand jars. Now, that's just because my grandfather worked for Ball Aerospace, who also is the company that owns Ball jars. And he did a lot of things with that. And so I'm just kind of brand loyal. But every so often you'll find a Kerr, Kerr jar, or some other off-brand jar in my collection. Those are usually because I got them as gifts, or I found them at a thrift store at a really killer deal. They were in great shape, and there was no reason not to have them. So it's not uncommon if you're into canning and you gift it. This is part of me giving. My gifts are these kinds of things, to have a large collection of jars that you give away and don't expect back. So this is where we're headed. We're going to wait until those raise to a simmer. We're going to let them cook down till the meat is soft, and then we'll get to the next step to create the juice. So let's get going. Hello. So I just set the oven to 170. We're just going to warm those jars, not make them hot. I may let the oven just turn off and let the heat stay inside once it's ready. Okay, so the berries are soft. And my sister-in-law's here. I love her dearly. And we are going to make juice now. We're making juice concentrate because it's not sweet yet. And I can thin it out with water and make more jelly out of it.
What tree did this come from?
Chokecherry.
But is your grandmother's tree?
No, these came from up the Poudre Canyon, not Poudre Canyon, the Thompson Canyon.
Ooh.
So anybody can go harvest them. Well, I don't know now. With the fires. I don't know. And then what's going to happen to the pulp and the seeds? Can you guess?
What?
We're going to cool them down in this bucket. You don't throw your ice cream buckets. And feed them to the birds. Then we might have seeds all over the place, and we might have bushes everywhere. And that's what my goal is. Do it.
We try to get rid of it.
Cool. Okay, so now we've got a juice concentrate. So we've processed the initial berries, ran them through, and I decided that the remaining pulp that was left was got enough meat on it still and juice that I'm going to go ahead and reprocess it one more time, because why waste it? You don't ever want to waste anything. So we're going to reprocess those and get more juice out of it. But look how dark this juice is. And that's with, let's see, 8 cups extra of water put in it. So this is going to be a beautifully dark jelly. Now we're just going to let it start coming up to temperature, which is going to be a low simmer. And we're going to start adding sugar to it. And we want to add sugar to it to where the taste is where you want it. And so when you're tasting these things, my grandmother taught me, don't burn your tongue. So you had to take the spoon once you get to your place where your sugar's melted in there, and then put it on the side and let it cool, and then test it. So this is a process of patience. So right now on the stove, you'll see I have the juice, first run juice. We've got the pulp getting recooked and reconstituted into another juice. I've got my pan here ready for this to get processed again. And here I've got my lids ready to start warming them when it's time, because you want the wax rings around the edges here to be warm, not hot, but warm so they're pliable. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put this back where it goes for the next run when it's ready. And we're going to start measuring sugar. And then my lovely sister here, Amber, has decided to make some concoctions. We love to experiment. So when you're in your kitchen, you should be confident in just playing. Because worst case scenario, you hate it and you throw it out, right? But we're doing some of the pulp and some juice and some sugar and some mint from our garden, and let it sit. And I can't remember what she calls these, but we'll add vinegar to it in about 4 days, and then we can add it to seltzer water. So pretty excited about what that's going to be like. So anyway, here we go, adding sugar. Now I'm doing this off of memory with my grandmother, because I learned this from my dad's mom. And so I'm going to just start basically adding sugar until it makes it look right. So I'm going to actually do what Grandma would do. Ready? Yep. That'll be half. Maybe a third. But yeah. And then once we got the flavor we want, we will add our pectin. I'll teach you a trick about the pectin. See the spoon? Okay. Once you have it to a place where you're adding your pectin and you have pectin cooking in and you want to know it's the right amount of pectin, and this is old-fashioned, not schooled, not trained. This is the history being passed down. You take your spoon, and the juice will typically make a little drippy spot right here at the corner of your spoon. And can't even get it to do it now, right, because it's too runny. But as it sets, it should make a bridge from here to here straight across. You'll know you have enough pectin in the system.
One little spritz at a time.
Oh, I'm in Zen mode. When you're doing the pectin, you want to like just kind of go around and make sure it's like, you just want to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom and not clumping. It is clumping a little bit. Won't take long. It'll get dissolved. And then we'll do our fancy check on the spoon. So yeah, so what we're doing is we added the pectin. So it says on this fancy jar, it says it equals, so 6 tablespoons of this equals 1 original box of pectin. And so what we're doing is we're just going to add the pectin until it looks like it's setting up. And typically what I've experienced in the past is that you need to basically get this up to a soft boil, the pectin fully just dissolve. You don't really want it to get up to a hard boil, mainly because it's juice and sugar and it's hot and you don't want to scald anything. You just want it to be, oh, it's starting. It's starting to do the spoon thing.
It almost smells like a fruit tea right now.
Yeah. Well, choke cherries are floral cherry flavor when you put sugar to them. But otherwise, they may consist of a dirt flavor.
Oh, really?
When they're so sour, yeah. So it's probably good that we had them. Okay, so the drip is getting really, see that longer drip time? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's getting there. You may have to put a little bit more pectin in. Depending on the acid level of what you're canning, you may need more pectin. I'm not coming up with more chunks like I was, so that's good.
She is adding more pectin to the mix. I'm gonna leave that out so you can just continue. Okay, so we have all the jars filled for this batch, and now we have that one coming together.
Yeah, look what all that the meat from the berries and stuff just created this again. So we'll be able to do probably
At least
half
this.
again that much more in the big jars, maybe. Oh, it smells good out here. It's been raining.
It's been raining.
Yep. So we need to bring these out, and we want to make sure that the rings are on good. They don't need to be on tight. They need to be on
I was like, I didn't
secure.
leave this open, did I?
We're gonna
Yeah, I think this is
turn
what
this
we're
on.
So when we're around this, we gotta be careful because it is a burner, okay?
It's like a stovetop.
It's a stovetop.
outside, I think.
Yep.
So just watch your fingers. And Mom also has another burner over here on our grill that's gonna run. And this is our attempt to keep everything outside that's hot,
It smells so good.
so the heat stays outside.
Make sure that the little
It might be. Burner valve's supposed to be off. Open cylinder valve.
putting them in the water bath.
Not boiling, but use hot water.
Yeah.
I didn't get warm.
yeah.
That noise. That was such an animated water noise.
Go
I was
down.
trying stuff for auto flames. I was trying
It's pretty toasty. I think it's
stuff
working.
for auto flames.
Not that hot yet. It will be though. It'll be very hot soon.
Do we need a little bit more?
There's the sun.
Here comes the sun. La, 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 la. He wants to see.
Check it out.
Look him over. Oh, they're already making noises. So see, it's gonna go down, buddy.
Oh
like
yeah,
this.
the water.
Yeah. Ta-da! And we're gonna let that sit. Once it boils, we'll start counting. And that, my friends, is the sound of success when you hear them making that sound.
Popping.
Yep.
So Mom just brought them out of the first bath. We have there goes another one. We have another bath that just got started over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I just refilled that one with the second batch of jelly.
Awesome.
So these are all setting up, and while they're setting up, the way you'll know that they're good and sealed. So right now that one's a bouncy lid. This one's a solid lid. And the sound that you're hearing is it's sucking its lid down and creating pressure inside. So as it cools, they all should do that. So we'll know we're having a successful canning with the
When
water
all of
bathing.
them-
Yeah, when all of them have that sound, solid, not that sound. So that one's solid, that one's solid, that one's solid, that one's solid. It's very hot. So yeah, most of them are done. We're waiting on this one. Oh, that one just did it while I was tapping it. So we're waiting on this one. I think we're doing good. I think we ended up with 34 various sizes of jars done. And the weather's been absolutely spectacular.
Honestly, for canning day, it raining and storming like this, pretty
Yeah.
spectacular.
And the grill side burner is probably the best thing. This one's nice, but it times out after a period of time, so you have to come back
Oh.
out and get it going again. And so that's a bit challenging, but having the heat outside is so much better because you do all the cooking inside, and this part puts out a lot of moisture and hotness. So very nice to have it not inside. So now the challenge is, what do we can next? And we're thinking mint jelly. Never done it before. We have mint in our front yard. We have mint over there, but it's the better ones in the front yard.
I'm sorry, I'm getting
Probably.
distracted. Look, the storm over there has little stuff coming down, like it's trying to start something.
Oh, good. Anyway, with that being said, we have made it through our canning day. We are now at a place where we have nice hot jars of jelly, and right now you're gonna see, let's see if I can find a better one. Oh, that one just did it.
Oh!
It's gone. It's good. Okay, so cool. Okay, let me get this glove. This is easier. right, so in here, I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of liquidy in there. That's because it's stupendously hot. I don't normally need a pot holder, but if I'm wearing one, you know that it's hot. So once this is cool to touch, cool like countertop cool, then you can remove these rings for storage. You don't have to keep the rings on. A lot of people think that the rings are necessary for the canning process. They're necessary to hold the lid on. The lid is the disc that you're putting on with the wax ring. But then once it's all set and done, you can remove these rings and use them for the next canning process. So you don't have to actually have one for every jar you own, which is something I thought I needed back in the day. Okay, update on the choke cherry canning situation. We actually had to undo all of the jars and re-cook everything because the acid level in these choke cherries was so high. The pectin wasn't setting up. Now they're perfect. They don't move, they don't do anything, they're not syrupy. We had to add more sugar and more pectin, and so we cleaned jars, disinfected, cleaned rings, and got new fresh lid situation going on. And now we're in the process of water bathing. This jar over here, this canister, is already heating and getting ready to boil. These guys are going to be done, but you know, don't give up. If you're learning how to can, and you run into a situation, if it's a day or so, and you've sealed it and it was protected, then you can recook it and do different things with it. Won't hurt you. One thing, just make sure your rims are clean, your jars are clean, all that, if you're going to redo it. So I'm going to lower that in. Okay, so now they are waiting to boil. I've got the heat on, flameage down there, going, cooking up real good. It'll take a little bit for that whole pot of water to start boiling. And then we've got this one going. It's going to take a little bit for it to get the heat up. It's got 52 minutes on its timer left for heat, but it's starting to get some small bubbles in there, and the pot is feeling pretty good and hot, which is good. And then all I have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more jars I'll need to process when done. And then we will be officially done, which is awesome.